to the church, now would be the time to bring up that question or subject. Okay. Then pastor's report.
There we go. I think I've already said something, and I don't like to repeat myself too much, but I have involved myself in the trial. It was made known to me today that I really did have the real vaccine given to me. They want to follow. They're following us, some of us, for 2 years. And so, to me, that's gone very, very well. There is a great need for 30,000 people now to participate in Phase 3. So if you were ever tempted to involve yourself in a drug trial, I think this would be a good one to do. It is Phase 3 or Stage 3, which means the general populace can involve themselves in this from, I think, 18 to 80 something. So, but I think they're well on their way to getting a vaccine. Okay.
Did you say that yours was only 65 and over?
The group I was in was 65 and over.
So now any age can
Yeah.
participate?
Stage 1 was under 55 healthy. Stage 2 was over 65 healthy, and Stage 3 is anybody, even with pre-existing conditions, as long as.
How would we volunteer?
I'll give you a number,
Okay.
because to get 30,000 people that's a lot of people, you know. So if you want that information, I can pass it on to you. A thing about disciple making, and Jim, you actually referred to it, but anything that we're doing in the church, I'm going to please invite you to double yourself. Find another person that you could be teaching what you're doing, so that when this all happens, somebody else can step in. Jesse and Al, God bless them, they were great. They could cover for each other, but now they're a married couple. And so we find ourselves in need. So deacons, reproduce yourself. Mission people, reproduce yourself. Music committee, reproduce yourself. And try to double up. The last thing, and this was the thing I didn't want to say anything about, but the pastor is looking at retirement. And I think at some point you guys would agree with me that by the time a pastor gets 70, that he needs to be replaced. Now, I'll be 68 my next birthday, and that's not till April. But what I'd like for you all to do is make sure that you're doing everything you can. If you're carrying weight, if you're doing a job in the church, do it the best you can, because someday the pastor won't be there to be on your case or to pick up what you didn't do. Okay? And that's no reflection on anybody, but normally when a pastor retires or resigns, there's a period of time when you just really have to pull it together and get people to preach for you. And that's about all they do. They don't administer. So let me say this, that by my 70th birthday, that's in about 2.5 years, I'd like to be retired. But I'm giving you plenty of warning. Now, you go to work and you hear somebody that's a preacher that needs a church, and if he wants to come here and preach for you, I could retire next month. All right? So I don't have to stay for 2.5 more years.
Why are you shaking your head no?
But I think it's time that we be honest, and I owe this lady a whole lot. And Mom, Beth and Lynn's mom is getting worse and worse and worse, and they're going out once a month, and every once in a while I need to go, and maybe I need to fix something or make sure her car's running, or I need to be a little bit more flexible with that. But I owe Lynn some trips. I owe her some vacations. And so I'm just letting you know that I'm thinking about this. So again, if you look at Craigslist and there's a preacher on there that, See how much you can buy him for, okay?
In all seriousness, though, on that, that goes back to what I'm thinking, or what I mentioned earlier, is, I mean, maybe we need to be actively. A lot of small churches. I mean, say something happened to you, which I hope it doesn't. I don't know if our church could survive without a pastor for a year. Like, we need someone, and I'm looking at this budget. We have $135,000 sitting in a bank account that could hire an additional staff member that could support you, because you're good at teaching, but to take some of that off of you, know, like, so maybe you want to keep teaching and preaching, but you need somebody to help, like. And we talked about this a couple years ago with the youth, and it's just, I don't know that any of us were really good and equipped at searching for that. Like, and I didn't really feel like the ABC supported us in that either. Like we mentioned, we wanted that. Like, we need somebody to help us, or I just don't think this church is going to make it.
Well,
I hate to say that.
No, I agree with you. And I worry about this because I thought we did a pretty good job of getting this church back alive again. Margie, you and Connie and, Billy, you've seen the church maybe through the years. 13 years ago when Lynn and I came, there were only 4 members here. And so we thought this would be the last thing that we can do. This is going to be it. This is the last church we're going to be a part of. And we wanted to come and bring it back to life. But that's what I'm saying, and I need to do that myself. I need to reproduce myself into somebody, I think there's another means by which we can search for somebody, and we'll talk about that. But there is an ongoing effort here in the state of Ohio among American Baptists to bring up and train men and women, to go into ministry. And so we might not have been tapped into there. I will say this, Lynn and I and Beth and all of us are going to be on vacation in September, and I've contacted the Gideons. I told them that we're having in-person church, so they're going to look for maybe Terry or Roy to come one of those Sundays. I'll be gone a different Sunday. But Larry Stewart is filling in for a Nazarene church over in Hillsboro. So we'll still need somebody to preach for us in September, one of those Sundays I'm gone. Okay? All right.
Along those lines, I'd like to charge the deacons for putting together a definition of a search committee. And my experiences with a search committee is that obviously you have an elder, you have the deacons, and you also need members of the congregation to be involved with the search committee. Typically, the number should be odd. I know what you're thinking. We've got people here. But when it comes down to presenting a candidate to the church or to the membership, that's usually the search committee votes on that. So what I would like to see between now and the next quarterly meeting is some sort of rough idea of what kind of search committee we can put together. Because I agree with Trish 100%. We can wait until Pastor retires, but that's going to put us in a hole. I would like to have somebody here that can work with Pastor, because the uniqueness of this church is because of him. And it's his personality, and I would like to continue. So, deacons, do your thing. Michael.
I think the most important thing for me about finding somebody like Pastor Steve who is a Bible based, and there's so many churches that are not.
Oh, yeah.
And that scares me, to be honest with you. And I appreciate Pastor Steve's teaching from the Bible, and it's the first person I've been to where that has biblical faith.
Well, and
I
that.
understand him wanting to retire, but I also feel like we need to make sure whoever comes in has the same idea about being Bible based on the Christian.
The Constitution does have the definition of the pastor's responsibility and criteria necessary to be the pastor of Silver Grove Church. The search committee's responsibility is to follow the Constitution of this church. okay? And that is, what you just said is extremely important, because one of the things that I appreciate about Pastor is that his simplicity. His ability to take a subject and make it not only relevant to today, but also talk about what it was back in the Bible
And I agree
days.
with that, and
And-
that helped me a lot.
Yeah, and I agree with what Pastor said about Wednesday nights. I've learned more on Wednesday nights sitting here than I have on Sundays.
And I look forward to it because I feel like Sunday to Sunday is too long of a period of time not to be doing something where you're focused on the Word.
Well,
I really look forward to Wednesdays too, so I understand that also.
and I appreciate, I like the fact that we can sit here on Wednesdays and throw questions at him, which you can't do on Sunday. Like, why did
More personable.
why did Noah let that mosquito on the ark? I just have a hard time with that. I really do. Yes.
You know, the good Lord brought Steve here. All we have to do, all of us, is to pray and ask for someone to come in and take his place when his time, when he wants to leave. There'll be somebody come in here and take his place.
Right.
No matter how much we look, the good Lord, he's looking over.
Mhm.
He'll bring somebody here.
And it's not just
It might just be like Steve, might be somebody drive by here.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just the responsibility of the deacons and that to do
I
that. It's the
remember the day we
responsibility of the whole
walked-
church.
I remember our family walked in here, and Steve was preaching, just 4 of them, and we had 10 come in, my wife and my kids, we all enjoyed it. Of course, my children, Steve was their Sunday school and youth leader, and they loved it when they come here, they said, this is our church. And we still feel that way.
Mhm.
Yeah, we've definitely been blessed, that's for sure. Okay,
That's all I got.
I'm going to let you ask any other question real quick before we close. Nothing else? Harold, would you like to close in prayer, please?